Man, there's a lot in this video, including position play, pattern play, how to think 9-ball. It even deals a lot with the mental game and what to do if you're really struggling on the pool table like I do in this game. This is probably one of the worst games I've ever put on YouTube, but it offers a perfect teaching opportunity. Yeah. So it's a little embarrassing, but you know, it's the sacrifice I make to show you guys the right way. There's a lot here. You might want to watch it like 35 times. Share it with your neighbors and your family and your friends and your co-workers. I'm heading off to do drywall. I like doing drywall, but only when I'm in the mood to do drywall. Anyway, that has nothing to do with pool. Peace. Here we are, and I'm looking for that first all-important pattern on the 1, 2, and 3 that's going to leave me decent shape on the 4 ball. Ultimately, I decide on this for the 1. But this graphic is a little bit deceiving. I'm not going into the rail right there. I'm drawing that cue ball off the 1 ball and back up behind the 9 ball for 2 quick rails and back up table for the right angle on the 2 to get back on the 3. And that should leave me good to get on that 4 ball in the right position. I need to get back up table on the 5. So let's go ahead and shoot it. So we wound up with this, and what should have been this, and the mistake I made was in not putting enough left-hand English on that ball to spin it off both the first and the second round, come further down table to right about here. So just next time, just keep it in the back of your mind and put a little bit more left-hand English on it so the rails don't kill the spin by the time you accomplish your goal. And now we're off to the pattern on the 2, 3, and 4 in the right position on the 4 to get back on the 5. This is a really thin finesse shot I'm going to have to be careful with. I don't want to come off that top rail too hard and lose control of the cue ball because it's going to go all the way down table if that happens. So it's back to that finesse shot that I talked about in the last video and the video before, just to keep from coming off that rail too hard, because I'm trying to get center table right about here on the 3 ball, and that should leave me able to draw straight back into the right position on that 4 ball to draw back again off that side rail and back on the right position on the 5 to easily be able to get on the 6. All I can do is recommend that you practice this. Although I'm putting a whole lot of bottom on this, I'm not drawing the ball back off that rail or off the 2 ball. The backward spin should stop right about where the 6 ball is before it hits the 2 ball, and then start rolling forward. So if you just try to roll this straight up all the way from where the cue ball is now to the 5 ball, with enough momentum to make that 2 ball in the corner, you're going to have to hit it too hard and it's going to roll all the way back down the table. It's going to get away from you. So you're just juicing it and holding it up to go center table on that 3 ball. And now we're off to the pattern on the 3, 4, and the 5, and the right position on the 5 to get to the 6. And you know, as long as we're here, we might as well take a look at that 7 ball and that 9 ball blocking the 7 ball for that pocket. So just make a mental note that we're going to have to play to get to the left side of that 7 ball. For now, we're just drawing straight back on this 3 ball to get right about here on the 4 ball, and that'll leave us a good position to draw back off that rail and get right about here on the 5 ball. And that will give us easy access to the 6 ball. Yeah, I went too long, Scooby, and now we have a problem. What I should have done is draw straight on back and bend the cue ball back to this position here, but I didn't. I shot it a whole lot like I shot that 1 ball going two rails out of that corner there and coming down on top of the 6 ball. It wasn't very wise, and here's the result. The pattern I decide on the 4, 5, and 6 to make it easy to get to that left-hand side of the 7 ball. It starts like this and comes out in that gap for the 5 ball. So from that position, it's easy enough to bounce off that top rail and get pretty much perfect on the 6 to get on the left-hand side of that 7. And my instinct is telling me not to do it like this, but I insist and I do it anyway, and this is another big mistake we make. So a disaster occurs and we hit the 9, bounce off the rail, and hit the 7 too, and now we're left with an impossible shot on the 5. All of it brings up a very valid point that I really truly want to bring home to you guys, and I know there's a lot of you out there. If you're one of the millions and millions of pool players who progress to a certain level and then your growth was stunted or you even got worse, I know what your problem is, and you're never going to find it in another YouTube video, so I want to tell you right here, right now. If all your basics are right and you're a sane, rational human being, and no matter what you do, you're still not progressing, and you can watch a million YouTube videos of the pros and never get much better, if any better, I want you to step back and ask yourself a question. When you play like I'm playing here, and I'm playing pretty bad, and it even gets worse later on in this video, ask yourself right now, are these the type of thoughts going around in your head? Without playing psychiatrist, I guarantee you that if you answered yes, that is your problem and that is why you're not progressing. You're going to have to replace those types of thoughts with these types of thoughts when you screw up. Now we're looking for the pattern from the 5 to the 6, the 6 to the 7, and in the right position on the 7 to get on that 8 and make it easy to get on that 9 and win this game. And here's the pattern. I've decided to put a whole lot of left on this 5 ball to spin it off onto that side rail and then bounce back up right about here, and that should leave me a stun draw shot on the 6 to get the right position on the 7 to either bend the 7 ball back to the 8 and bend the cue ball off the 7 back to the 8, or use that side rail to bounce off of and get the right position on the 8 to get to the 9. Well, you know, it's one of those days. I will never ever wear that shirt again. Alright, so you see the train wreck, and I usually play a little better than this. Give me a break here. It's a great tool for teaching. I mean, the more mistakes, the more chances I have to explain to you guys what I did wrong, what not to do, and how to do it better. So it's all good. Let's get on with the 6, 7, 8 pattern now that everything has changed again. It's that same concept as that last shot. You're going 2 rails back out on the 7 and still trying to gain that same position to get back on that 8 ball. So here's where we're trying to get, and that has not changed, and you know the plan from that point on. I'm going to re-break it. Alright, you can see I came up way short, but even if I went long there, I shot it pretty bad, and it would have just went up into the back of the 8 or the 7 anyway, and it would have knocked the 7 all over the place. And I mean, it could be a lot worse than this right here. So I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of taking what I can get and doing the best I can with it and trying to get through this rack. It's a battle between myself and just trying to keep my head. It's all about keeping your head. Let's look at the pattern on the 7, 8, and 9, and it starts with this Z kind of thing. And if you've been around long enough, you've seen me shoot this shot probably a dozen times. It looks crazy, but it's really not. From the 7, we're bouncing off that rail to get back on that 8, and that should leave us in a good position to just roll back up table for a shot on the 9. You're drawing this, but you're not putting a ton of draw on it. The trick to it is to draw a little bit and to hit it really hard. So you're forcing it back into that rail, and then the natural angle takes over and forces it down table onto that 8 ball. This time I came up short, and this is too thin of a cut to hold it up for center table for a shot on that 9 ball to where we want it to be. So I'm going to have to come all the way back up table and then halfway back down table for the same shot on that 9 ball. So here's the pattern I was trying to achieve, and that gets all screwed up because I put draw on this ball, so it comes off that bottom rail at an angle, the left hand angle. It's exactly what I did not want to do. There's absolutely no reason to put any bottom on that shot. The natural angle comes right down toward the camera and bounces back up, and it's just something I'm so used to doing that I wasn't really thinking. And this is the white line is where I was shooting for it to go, but then at the last second I put draw on it, and it draws it back to where, you know, the pattern on the red line right there. And we get another bad shot on the 9 ball, so this ain't quite over yet, Scooby. This is a tricky little cut here. You don't want to shoot this down there in the corner. It's just a little bit too tricky. You want to shoot it in the side. And there's no reason to spin this ball in. And I know a lot of you guys like to spin these tough cuts in. But I don't see any reason to do that when it's hard enough without the English. So just center ball and just take a little bit extra time on your aim and your stroke and follow through and stay down. This is the only one that matters, so you got to make this one. We're going to loop the whole thing and play it all over without the yakking, without all the analytical stuff, and just let it play. Thanks again for tuning in. Again, watch it 1,000 times and share it with everybody. I appreciate you guys. Traffic is picking up at the Tube of You. And what can I say but thanks.